like when you see an army on the table at a tournament or on display and they've gone for that bright poppy colours, it really is eye-catching, isn't it? When you see, you think, wow, look at that, it draws you over. It's like my wife will look in my cabinet and go, yeah, they're painted well, but why are they all brown and black?
Started all those and thought, I'm going to get these finished, it's fine, I won't write it down. In the heat of the moment, when you're doing it at the time, it's great, you remember all your colours and you know your staging. Came back to my Zoraphon and thought, what have I done? I can't remember any of these colours. Trying to sit with a model that I'd already painted and trying to colour match it and figure out what colours I'd used.
Yeah. Magnus wasn't designed to be painted in a hotel.
He was not.
I don't think he was designed to be painted at all, was he? We're going back to last week's episode.
Good point. So it's lucky.
It should count itself lucky that it's grey. It's this close to being eBay. But like I said, I don't care either way. I'm not going to collect them if there's men or women, so it don't make no difference to me. I don't care what they do. Put a dog in the arm for all I care. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Sprue Goons Podcast with me, Dickie, Darren, and this week we have another special guest, Emily, aka Pink.Warhammer. Hello, Emily.
Hello, thank you for inviting me on.
No worries, thank you for coming on this awful podcast, so probably elevating it a bit. So Darren, how you been?
Yeah, good. Yeah, we've so normally we kind of do our hobby nonsense. So yeah, I think it's only fair to kind of see what Emily's been up to in the last couple of weeks in terms of hobby.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been trying to focus on getting some of my Tyranids painted recently. I've got a tournament coming up in a couple of months' time, so I feel like that pressure's on, but I'm also a little bit like, I've got work, I've got so much else going on, trying to find that time to squeeze it all in. So yeah, I've been focusing on that. I think because I've probably only got about a third of it painted at the minute, I'm starting to stress a little bit. Just trying to find the time to fit it all in, but I do really enjoy it, so I'm just trying to slow down and take my time with it and not rush, because I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, as much as I hate that.
Oh dear, you're in the wrong place, because we are as well.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
We can't help you there.
No, so oh dear. So is it a full 2,000 points you've got to get done in a couple of months?
It is, yeah. I mean, to be fair, I've got about 3,500 points of Tyranids.
Oh wow.
There's just not many of them painted yet. They're taking their time. There's some bigger models, but I think I hate painting big units with like 10 plus models, so like all the termagants and things. That's a bit of a nightmare. Trying to pull myself together to get all those painted. The bigger models I love because I can focus more on the details, but when they're so small and there's so many of them to try and replicate, that is
Oh god, that's kind of
well we'll get into that.
Now, you can feel Emily's pain there, can't you, with their termagants, the messages I've been getting. I just can't face these things. Oh god, these bloody termagants.
You say about me feeling Emily's pain, I'm not sure it's on
No, it's not on the same scale, no, but you can get where she's coming from.
So I basically can't get a combat patrol done, and you're trying to do a 2,000 point army, so but yeah, I'm 10 termagants, 1 winged prime, and a barbagon into a combat patrol. And I think a bit like you were just touching on there by being a perfectionist, but I think my error, because I don't get a huge amount of time to paint, is kind of setting that bar just a little bit too high to be able to really like smash through them. So I think that's key really, in terms of like you can paint a horde army, but maybe don't set the bar too high, because then you've got to kind of maintain that standard. But yeah, we'll definitely kind of get into that.
So is it a local tournament you're going to, or is it a big proper GW one? Or
so I'm going to one at a game shop in Sheffield, so it's fairly local to me, about an hour away. So yeah, just having a full day out doing a few games for a 2,000 point tournament. I've only played in tournament once before, and that was at Warhammer Fest last year. So that was my first tournament sort of experience, throwing myself straight in the deep end.
I was going to say
Warhammer Fest, right in the midst of like 9th edition and everything, and it was really chaotic in terms of trying to learn all the rules and everything, because I think I tend to paint more than I play.
Yes.
So I was still learning the rules and everything at the same time. So it was definitely an experience. It was fun though. It was great.
How did you do?
I won one of the 3 games, but it was a doubles tournament, so I felt like I was relying on my partner quite a lot.
That's right. 1 out of 3. That's not too bad.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, first tournament. Well, yeah, that's fine.
So I've been up. I don't think I've been up to much. Can't even think what I've been up to.
You've been up to quite a bit.
We had a game of Stuffed Fables, a board game I've got. So we had a game of that last week, which is like a dungeon crawler kind of game, but it's think Toy Story, but a dungeon crawler basically.
Yeah, and like a kind of like a dark Toy Story.
Yeah. But had a game of that, so I've painted a little bit more of that. I've been randomly building Bolt Action.
Oh yeah.
Which is a complete random. Well, you got your set from essentially a boot fair, didn't you?
Yeah.
Cheap. So it's been sat here for weeks. I thought, well, you know what? Start building it. So started building that. I don't think there's really much more I've been up to really. I don't know. I'm looking at you for like. Yeah.
What have I been up to?
Yeah. What have I been up to? But no, not a lot really. Still need. Speaking of combat patrols, I still need to finish my Drakari, Raider, and Ravager.
Yeah. So I posted some images of your incubi.
The pink ones. Huh?
Yeah.
Nice. Great.
Yeah, nice on brand scheme.
Yeah, there you go.
For that. But yeah, I don't think we've just today received some models from an American company for a little a Kickstarter called Slapshot Showdown, which is
Blood Bowl and Ice.
Yeah, Blood Bowl and ice hockey. It looks so cool. So we'll be working on those bits. I know you're keen to get.
Yeah, I want to paint a couple of them. A couple of them I really like, so I want to paint some of them up.
Yeah.
Bit of scattershot really with my. I haven't got the focus. You've got Emily to work on one thing for 2 months. I'd get bored after about an hour. So.
Do you know what? I keep having to change it up a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I think I look at the same thing for so long, and I'm like, need a break, need something different. So.
Yeah, that's what I'm awful for that.
Yeah, definitely. I have been painting my Imperials for Arcworld.
Yeah.
What miniatures? I say I've been painting them. I kind of that's more like this week really. Did it last night. They're quite fun to paint. This is the first time I've painted Artworld, and it's nice to have something of that kind of. It suits my style, I think. Although our thinking was to kind of almost like slapshot them and then go back over kind of afterwards, and we kind of suffer, or I suffer from, again, having that kind of perfectionist. If you've got, say, a warband that's like eight miniatures, then you'll do, say, 2 or 3 to a really high standard, and then you've got 5 models to do to a really high standard. So we've said before about if you go in at like a base level, then you've got the option to go kind of a bit higher on some of them if you want to, whereas if you go in at a high level, you can't then paint the rest to a really low level because it will look weird. So that's kind of I'm doing it the other way around.
As you can tell, we struggle with painting to a high standard constantly. Lose interest.
But other than that, I'm not sure if there's much more. Really. Bit of contrast corner and a few other bits, but I don't think other than that.
So Emily, you were saying you split your tyrannies up with other things. What other things is there anything else you're working on in between, or is it top secret?
Yes, no, so I've got some gnomes on the go at the moment for Blood Bowl, so I've been delving into that. I've never played a game, so that is completely new to me. But I just thought the models were very much my sort of style, quite cool. I thought I could do quite a lot with those, so liking the look of those at the moment. I didn't realise how small they were till I started assembling them. Usually I'll leave my models in like quite a few little pieces and paint as I go, and then I'm looking at these and I'm thinking I can't even pick these up, like they're so small. I don't know how I'm going to get all the detail on them, so that's another day's problem. I'm just going to build them for now and worry about that later. And then I've been doing a little bit of my Seraphon as well, so again, Age of Sigmar, I've not played a game yet, but with 4th being announced and everything, I just thought I'll wait until they rework it a little bit rather than trying to learn the rules now for it to change in a couple of months' time. So, but I do have an army more or less ready to go for that. So I've just been having some fun painting some colourful dinosaurs and lizards.
Nice. You two have got very similar army.
Yeah.
You love Seraphim, you love Tyranids, so it's all very.
Yeah, I looked at your Thousand Suns as well. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
I wish I could paint everything that you've painted.
Yeah,
but,
they felt like a big project doing those. I think all that gold trim and everything, I was a little bit like, yeah, where do I start with those? And to be fair, I think I chose them because I like the look of them more than anything. Learning to play with them, that was, with all the psychic phase and everything, that was a nightmare. But yeah.
I mean, on the last episode, it was is Warhammer getting too detailed? And I know the Thousand Suns came up a couple of times.
Yeah,
they are
too detailed.
Again, like you said, look absolutely stunning. And I love like one of my favourite colours is teal. So they look they look so good. But yeah, they are
So I'm incredibly jealous of the gnomes as well, because as soon as I saw those, I was like, I want them. I want to get the gnomes. We went to Salute, and I thought I'm going to pick them up if we see them. Didn't see them anywhere. So
no way.
Something else I was saying. Also, you saying about Age of Sigmar as well. I found as the time of recording today, Warhammer put an article up about Spearhead, which is basically combat patrol for AOS, and they've said that the Sons of Behemoth, basically the giant kits, can be in Spearhead, and I love the giants. I had a 2,000 point giant army and I got rid of it and regretted it massively. So I'm like, I can get a Spearhead of giants. I feel like you need to talk me down on that one. But
that won't happen. So I think that's kind of that's it for a bit of hobby nonsense. We'll get on to the next bit. So we'll get to know Emily a bit better. So
a few questions.
The standard obligatory first question, which is how did you get into the hobby?
Well, I've had a couple of friends in the past that have been interested in it, and they've tried to get me into the hobby, and I think I've just turned away from it and been like, don't really think that's my sort of thing. And then as I started looking more and more into it, when you think you're always busy doing Warhammer and things, and start having a look on Instagram and seeing some of the stuff that's out there. And then my partner was very much into it as well at the time. So when he started playing games and painting the models and things, I think from there, I sat one night with the starter box of, the Age of Sigmar ones with the little Stormcast models in and the 5 paints. Sat with one of those one night and painted a model, and I thought, I kind of like this. I'm getting into it. I wasn't going to admit to him. I wasn't going to say, you've really sparked my interest here with the Warhammer. I ordered my box of Rubric Marines because they were sort of the units that took my fancy a little bit after I'd had a bit of a look. And just went from there, really. And I think I tried to make it my own with the pink and everything, because I thought if I'm going to be painting all these models at such high detail, I want it to be something colourful and something to my taste that I like, and went from there. And then I think with the Instagram side of it, just having a look at the inspiration and things that I saw on there, I think that's what made me start the Warhammer account, to be fair, as well, and just track my progress, because I think I've only really been into the hobby now for about 1.5 years, so still quite new to it, and trying to find my way around and look at all the factions and things that interest me. So
So you've only been painting for 1.5 years?
Yes,
God, your level's like here already. Give it a few more years, it will be. Oh wow, that's amazing.
Thank you.
Starting with Rubric.
I was going to say slightly deeper.
You could get a deeper end than that.
Oh God.
I never finished the unit. I've still got 5 unpainted.
Well, we've got something in common then.
Yeah, as I say.
Yeah.
And when you got further than you though, didn't you? I think you did 1.
I'm sure I did that.
No, that'll do it. So speaking of Rubric Marines, the next one would be sci-fi or fantasy.
Ooh, I think fantasy.
Oh, good choice. Right answer. You can stay on the show.
Correct.
Yeah. No, I do like sci-fi, but for me, because I was Warhammer like fantasy, the old one, and for me that's always kind of been my fantasy. Lord of the Rings, Warhammer. I like AOS, but I played a few games. We had a few armies, but I haven't really got into it fully. Till Spearhead comes out, then I want to get a Spearhead. Now I know that the Sons of Behemoth are going to be a Spearhead, or I'm in trouble, or you're in trouble.
I think so.
And the next one.
So
I think you've already answered this.
You've touched on this, but are you? Well, I guess we've kind of touched on both, but I think I know which way it's going to go. But are you a painter or a gamer?
Oh, definitely a painter, but I think I'm getting more and more towards the gamer side of it now. I think if you'd have asked me that a few months ago, painter, 100%.
Yeah.
Not that into the gaming. But I think since 10th and being able to play quite a few games and things with friends and really get to understand the way that I can play my Tyranids, I think that's what's got me more into gaming. I think trying to learn with Thousand Suns in 9th edition that deterred me quite a bit. But yeah, I think definitely with the release of 10th and understanding that, I do like gaming quite a lot now. But I have more time for painting than I do gaming, so painting tips that one.
No, nice. Kind of similar to us, really. I always have a personal problem, but I always find I struggle to paint things that I know I can't game with.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have that kind of problem? I think if I don't have a use for it, if this isn't going into an army or a game that I can use, I really struggle to get it finished.
Yeah.
Do you get that too, Emily, or is it just
all the time?
Oh, good.
But then I also think that I want to game with it, so I'll try not to rush it, but I'm trying to be quick to get it on the table.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I'm criticising myself for rushing it.
God, I feel like we've found a kindred spirit here. This is like exactly what we feel like when we come to our topic. Our main topic's going to be interesting. We'll go, we'll all agree for 2 minutes, done. Moving on.
And do you have any other hobbies?
I have a couple. I read quite a lot. And baking is probably one of my other biggest hobbies. So when I was a lot younger, probably about 9-10 years ago, I did a baking from home business, which was actually it took up quite a lot of my time. I was working full time at the same time, and I had that decision to make of, do I stay at my full-time job, do I do my baking and get that off the ground? But I think for me it was just that thought of a stable income, and then I've sort of just focused on work more than anything, and it was probably Warhammer that's probably been one of my biggest hobbies recently, and that's probably one that I've stuck to and found enough time for. I always want more time for it, but I think this is it. But yeah, I definitely think that this is probably like my main hobby. Any sort of spare time, anything like that, it tends to go into painting and trying to get my family involved as well. So obviously my partner, he games quite a lot, he does quite a lot of Warhammer, but my daughter's also shown an interest in it now as well, so she's like painting Space Wolves and things and trying to find a feat with that as well, so she's loving that too.
Oh, another cool choice, Space Wolves. You love Space Wolves as well. This is all weird for you, isn't it? Tyranids. Oh. So no, that's where your high level paintings come from. Your baking, decorating cakes and things. Transferring those skills over. Yeah. Great. Well, I think that's kind of anything else you want to quick fire at, Emily? Or
no, I don't think so. Is there anything else that you feel like our listeners should know about you?
I don't know, to be honest. I think when I'm talking about myself, I feel like a really boring person, but I know that I'm not. I think I'm the thing with Warhammer is I feel like I can be myself. I try to bring colour into everything that I do, because I love the Warhammer, but for me, sort of like the dark and grimy models, things like that isn't really my style at all. So I try to make them as bright and colourful as I can, I think it keeps me going when I'm painting, especially if I was doing like a horde army or something and doing them all colours that I'm not really feeling, colours that aren't really my vibe. I think that's what gets me through. But I think the Warhammer community as a whole has been fantastic in just inspiring me, I think, more than anything. Having a look through Instagram, seeing everything that people have been doing and thinking, I'd like to give that a go, or I could try this painting technique, or just generally the comments and the interactions and things with people is 9 times out of 10 fantastic, and I think that is one of the biggest things about the hobby that I love.
Yeah, I think Instagram is a really nice place.
Yeah, again, that's more down to you. I just send you pictures of painted things. You do the rest. So
YouTube, I find, is kind of slightly not as nice.
No.
And then Facebook is like a kind of
cesspit
of people just absolutely ruining you for not being perfect.
Things that you say, Emily, go about like a bright colours and not doing the grim dark look of 40k. When you see an army on the table at a tournament or on display and they've gone for that bright poppy colours, it really is eye-catching. When you see, you think, wow, look at that, it draws you over. It's like my wife will look in my cabinet and go, yeah, they're painted well, but why are they all brown and black? Why can't you do something colourful? And so she always said, when I do the same colour, I like that one, it's got lots of colour. So definitely, I do feel like that is I love doing. That's why I kind of chose pink for my Dark Elder, because I thought, yes, it's really, like you said, it's something a bit different, bring colour into it. It pops when you put it down. It's cool. So yeah, I agree.
Right. Well, I think we can get into our main topic. I thought this one we'd do because Emily is certainly currently getting ready for a tournament and kind of got that, should we say, pressure on.
No, it is pressure. Let's say it is pressure. That must be a horrible feeling.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I'm counting down the weeks to this tournament to try and get everything painted.
And have you got a plan? Have you got to kind of the plan level yet, where you've thought, right, okay, now I need to start. I've got 3 weeks. This is roughly how it's going to look.
I think probably when I get to like the month before, that's when I'll start planning. Out of sheer panic of trying to get everything ready. I think where I am now, I feel like I've got like 3 months or so. Yeah, it's fine. I've got plenty of time. But in reality, with the time that I actually have for hobbying, that it's no time at all. So yeah, I do definitely need to start trying to plan some time, stick to it, and make sure that I'm getting everything ready. But I'm still at the point where I've still got models to buy for the list that I've got ready for my tournament.
Oh, wow.
So
yeah, scary.
Getting there, chipping away slowly. But
So yeah, our question is how to get your army tabletop ready.
And we can't really help you much on this one because we massively struggle with this ourselves, because we did it once with our Star Wars Legion armies, didn't we? We got them into tabletop level. We kind of went in and went, right, we're going to do it. This is how we're going to do it, and we did it. But as we were saying earlier, I think Darren's definitely a perfectionist. You, Emily, said yourself you're part of perfectionist, and I think I probably am a bit of a perfectionist as well. I'm pushing myself to.
I want to say you're probably maybe slightly less of a perfectionist.
Oh, I dare you.
But you've got a lot more time to paint.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's kind of, you've almost got more time to get it perfect.
Yeah.
And also, what I would say, I'll flip that into a compliment, that because you've been painting for so long, and you've got so much experience, it's you can get to the stage that I want to get to quicker. Whereas I'm with the kind of not as much experience, I think you tend to spend a lot of your painting time like trying stuff out that maybe doesn't work. So do you know what I mean? You're kind of like wasting time trying to get it, and it's not like you're trying to get it perfect, but you've got a goal in mind and you're trying to get there, and where you've got loads of experience, you know how to get there. So it's just a case of, if I spend 20 hours on this unit, it will be done, plus or minus a couple of hours. Whereas I would say, if I spend 20 hours on this unit, I don't know how many models I'll paint. It might be 2.
Yeah, for me, I will try and use like a batch paint method where possible, until I start losing my mind with that and thinking, okay, I need to change this up a little bit now, and try and get as many little bits ticked off each model as I can as I go.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, well, what would be your number one kind of
your big
top
tip?
Yeah, I tend to dry brush quite a lot as well. try and get some highlights and things on that way, doing the bulk of it, dry brushing. And until recently, I hadn't used contrast paints. I was always just relying on like base paints, layering, and trying to get all of my detail and shade that way. Started experimenting a little bit with contrast paints and realising actually they're really good, they're really handy. So started using those a little bit more, and shades, because I think you can get so much detail just in one layer with a quick contrast paint and a dry brush, which is so much quicker. It's just trying to make sure that I'm then stepping away from it slightly and thinking, okay, it only needs to be tabletop ready. I don't need to have it absolutely perfect, but yeah, I think once you've done your first model and you've got it to the standard that you want, it's trying to get all of them to that standard that is, it sometimes feel like a bit of an uphill battle, but it's just finding that time to really concentrate and get a plan in place, I think.
So would you say it's a good idea to do a test model for an army before you start, spend the time doing one from beginning to end and then have that as your basis to work off?
I think so. I think with mine, I've always done a test model first, purely probably because I'm so indecisive with colours as well. I like to just try and experiment a little bit. So I'll tend to find I'll get maybe an old model or just like a cheap one maybe off eBay or something, and I'll paint that first and maybe do a couple of different colour schemes and see which one I like. Then I'll do one from start to finish before I start looking at potentially batch painting them or seeing what other things I can do. I think it depends on the size of the models as well. I think when you're looking at Tyranids, if I've got like a big monster, I'm not gonna test it. I'm just gonna experiment with something like that.
That's a really good idea with the eBay. I've never thought of that. Like getting some cheap, any old models off eBay and trying the scheme on that. That's a good idea.
Yeah. And I think that kind of one of the points that I was kind of thinking to make was, again, kind of picking a scheme and sticking to it. I think if you're going to get it tabletop ready, you don't want to be, say, halfway through a unit or even a model if it's a big model and you've got a rough idea and you're kind of starting to add things and, oh, actually, what about if that grey went into yellow, and then you're kind of, oh, hang on, no, now I've got to repaint the 30 that I've already done. So I think it doesn't have to be a basic scheme, but I think picking a scheme and sticking to it probably is a good idea if you want to get them on the table at some point.
Yeah, which we never end up doing for an army. So, so what would you say is the best things to concentrate on the models? Because obviously we've touched on it before in previous episodes, but like, would you say it's like faces, bases, and weapons? That's normally what we would say. Would you agree with that, or in terms of?
I think generally I will I get more primed first, but I'll try and get a couple of main colours on it, especially for like tournaments. Bases obviously need to be based, so trying to think of a quick way to base that also looks quite effective. I think a lot of the time as well, I'll end up spending time on bases and waiting for them to dry, and I feel like that takes half my time up as well, just trying to think of something a little bit outside the box or something that works. So yeah, basing, just getting a general couple of colours on the model at least before I start looking at a little bit more detail on them. And then weapons, particularly with Tyranids and things like that, it can be a bit of a nightmare trying to get all of the weapons done. I think some of them are either really, really fiddly and tiny, or you've got huge ones that you've got to put quite a bit of detail in. So I feel like they're not a quick job trying to get through them. So just trying to keep the colours minimal, but trying to get as much detail on as possible. But I think the main focus needs to be trying to get them tournament ready, especially when you've got a deadline. I can always go back and add the detail in afterwards. That's what I tell myself anyway.
But you never do.
Yeah, I'll come back to that.
So what is tournament ready? Is it 3 colours and isn't there like a rule for it? There is.
It's 3 colours and based.
3 colours and based. So I think I always try to make sure. I think I struggle to see just 3 colours on a model because I want to go into that much detail on it. I'll try and put as many on there as I possibly can instead of thinking technically that should be done now. I need to just leave that and take a step back and focus on getting the rest of them painted, which is why I think at the minute I've got about a third of the army painted, and I'm just looking at a sea of either primed models or grey.
Yeah.
Focus on just getting those main colours on there. I think I struggle as well. I don't like batch painting because I like to finish one model before I start the next, but I always think I need to try and do it a little bit quicker and try and see what I can do. But for me, I like to do one model at a time, which is okay when you've got like the big monsters and things from Tyranids, but when you've got like hordes,
yeah, that's killer.
Well, so you two have made the mistake of going for Tyranids. You've got no one to blame but yourself, eh?
It's true. One thing I would say in terms of you say about like drying time. One thing that's a bit of a game changer for me is the hairdryer.
Yeah, but I've used a hairdryer, and I think if you do it too much, the paint doesn't dry properly.
But for bases,
bases. I'm just thinking like I've used a hairdryer on a model before.
I know what you mean, yeah.
And it kind of the paint will dry thicker than you wanted if it was left to dry naturally. I find sometimes.
Yes, so it doesn't. If you're doing the kind of the two thin coats, the Duncan Road special, then the paint naturally will pool in the recesses. Whereas if you use a hairdryer, sometimes, or even if you're using contrast paints, even more so, it will dry on the surface. They dry quite quickly anyway. Yeah,
you too. I don't really have any dealings with contrast paints really in the form they're supposed to be used for. Obviously, Emily, you said you found a new love for them, and you've got your contrast corner that you were you basically going through every colour slowly using it. So yeah, they are good for batch painting, then you would say.
I think so. I think if you're, it kind of depends what your aim is, but I suppose we're saying how to get your army tabletop ready. So I'm assuming with that question, you're not looking for display standards. So I think going to speed paints would be where speed paints have come in the last, say, few years, and contrast paints are, they are, I know we were saying about it the other day, but I feel like they are the best speed paints out there. We wouldn't say necessarily Games Workshop, the Citadel make the best acrylic paints, but I think contrast are definitely up there for speed paints. Some of them aren't great, but...
Have you tried any of the other manufacturers of speed paints, Emily, or have you just used it?
No, I've stuck to the Citadel ones so far. I think they're definitely ones that I've looked at, because I think sometimes there's just a colour that I want and it's a different make or like a different range, and I'm thinking, I've not used that before to know how it works. And I think quite a lot of them as well, they're in droppers.
Yes.
So for me, I find it easy just dipping my brush straight in. I don't use a wet palette all that much.
Oh no.
No, it's awful, isn't it?
Right, anyway, nice talking to you.
Occasionally, if I need to thin down paints, that's about the only time I'll use it. But with like contrast and things, I don't tend to water them down as much. So I will, I just tend to. I've stuck to the Citadel one so far. Definitely something that I need to do though, like just have a little explore around and try some different things.
Yeah, see, this is why I said you need to do other brands on your contrast corner, because people will be able to see how their Vallejo come out. There you go.
Don't you worry.
Sneak peek behind the curtain.
But I would agree with Emily in terms of watering down contrast paints. I take contrast paints straight out.
You said that. Yeah, you said you don't like them on a wet palette because they run, they thin, they don't.
Yeah, if you want to thin them, you should be using contrast medium anyway. But yeah, they're pretty good out of the pot. Some of them are a bit. Yeah, I don't know. Some of them are a bit gloopy. The way they go on is it's a bit weird, but they can give a really good result. I'm going to start doing like a sort of like a slap chop version, maybe a bit of a longer version of Contrast Corner where where the model is dry brushed first, so underpainted, to really show how good they can look. Whereas on Contrast Corner, I kind of tend to just go for what most people would be putting them on, which is just a flat colour, just to see how they look. Because sometimes I think if I want to show someone how a contrast paint looks, I don't want to be like, oh, this is how a contrast paint looks. If you spend 3 hours dry brushing it beforehand, it's like, well, that's not really the point of being the object. So,
so would you say, again, going into like doing tabletop ready army for a tournament, would you go in with the scheme? Would you write the scheme down? Would you write it down, your steps, so you're ready? You know how you're going to approach it. Would you know to speed things up? Is that an idea? Would you say, or would you just kind of wing it?
Yeah, definitely. I've done it both ways, and I've made the mistake of not doing it before. So, like with the Seraphon, I started the Seraphon, doing all the Saurus warriors in the pink and the peachy colours. Started all those and thought, I'm going to get these finished. It's fine. I won't write it down because in the heat of the moment, when you're doing it at the time, it's great. You remember all your colours and you know your staging. Then I got very involved with 10th coming out, focusing on the Tyranids and getting those done. I came back to my Seraphon and thought, what have I done? I can't remember any of these colours. Trying to sit with a model that I'd already painted and trying to colour match it and figure out what colours I'd used. So I learned that lesson, and then with my Tyranids I wrote everything down. But I think because I've done it that much now with the Tyranids, with the amount I've got, that one's kind of stuck. But there were definitely stages in the beginning. Yeah, like what have I done here? What have I done here? And trying to figure all that
out. No, I've definitely been there with like Emily just said then, like with holding the model, looking at it going, I think that's that pink there, that's the red. Oh, let me check. No, it's not that. What red was it? Yeah. Then you remember, I mixed it. It was a special colour I mixed. Yeah. Oh, what colours did I use to mix that red?
That's the hard of it when you're mixing. So you might say, oh, I'm going to do, like a grey and a pink and a green. But then when you start highlighting the green, you can't remember whether you lightened it with yellow or lightened it with white or lightened and then it's when you're doing the kind of the higher level, you can get your base colours in and write them down, but if you don't remember your mixes, then although saying that, I think probably to a tabletop level, I don't think it's a massive deal, unless they look vastly different, but yeah, if you can get it pretty close. And also I think for something like Tyranids or Seraphon, they wouldn't all be exactly the same either. So I think it's an interesting idea to maybe, I'd like to see a Seraphon army or a Tyranid army where they're not completely different, but they're sort of like variations of the same.
No, your perfectionist brain wouldn't let you do that.
No, I'd like to see it, but I couldn't do it.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. I'm sat there thinking, yeah, I get that. They don't have to match, but I'm thinking, I don't think my OCD would let me. Like, I need to have them all looking the same.
Also, you'd have to write 10 schemes down.
Yeah, it's 10 books of different versions.
For me, and I think it comes in with being a perfectionist, and we do it so much, but don't overthink it. I would say, especially if your aim is to get it tabletop ready, I don't think, we do it so.
I'm not saying a word on that because I always overthink it, so I can't really comment.
You almost, when you're thinking about doing a scheme, you're trying to put kind of barriers in the way and thinking, actually, if I do that, I'm not going to be able to do this or that. I think sometimes it's just a case of pick the brush up and just start painting. Just get a test model. If you've got a rough idea, obviously if you've got no idea, then that's more difficult. But I think if you've got a rough idea for colours, I think just like you said before, start getting some paint on some models, and you might kind of find your flow.
Start somewhere, build it up.
I definitely feel like you saying that, I feel like sometimes some of my best painting has been when I've just sat down and just started, haven't really thought through what I'm doing. Just like, just start painting this, model. I think, oh my God, that looks amazing. I think, like you said, sometimes when you do overthink it, you end up, I don't know, you have a picture in your mind of what it's going to look like, and then it ends up looking nothing like what you thought it would, and you're like, oh, it's rubbish, I'm not happy with this.
And I think that the hardest thing with that as well is, we all know, and I know you've spoke about it before, but every model has its ugly phase. So you've really got to have some conviction to know what you had in your head, and that by going through these stages, you'll get to what you've got in your head, because it's not going to look like that until the end. So I think, like you said, it's sometimes frustrating where you're painting something and it's not looking like you want it to look.
Which happens a lot for me.
Even when they're finished.
I'm not good at that.
But yeah, I think it's kind of. I know we kind of come into this subject all admitting that we're perfectionists, but I think it's if you're looking at an army that you want to get tabletop ready, you do have to sort of think they don't have to be perfect. And also, I know you touched on it earlier, but you can come back to them. You know, it's I'm not talking about kind of messy painting, but yes, thinking, that's not quite, that highlight doesn't look quite, it's fine. You know, leave it, move on. It's got its 3 colours, it's got its base, and yeah, you can always come back to it. Like you say, you probably won't, but you've got the option. You've got the option there, and I think the reason why you probably won't is because we've got a slogan called 3 Foot Fabulous, and it's because from 3 foot away, most models look absolutely fine. So I think once you get them on the table and say you've painted 50 termagants, you haven't got a burning desire to go back over and put that final highlight on the carapace. You just think they look fine, you know, leave it. Go absolutely mad on the bigger models.
But then if you choose a scheme like Emily's chosen, they're still going to pop from 3 feet away. You're still going to look at that and go, wow, look at those. Yeah. Because I've seen, obviously, on Instagram, your Tyranids and they don't look tabletop to me. They look better than tabletop. Like you said, that is not tabletop. Most people be over the moon for that kind of level for an army. So
yeah, I think probably maybe suffering from setting the bar.
Yeah, setting the bar.
Setting the bar high.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling that now. I'm like, so many more to paint, but yeah, definitely getting there. Definitely need to take advice and start planning it ahead and trying to put a bit of a time to some of them, and taking that step back and thinking, technically it's tabletop ready, accept it.
Walk away.
Yeah, I think so. And with like the timetable, it's kind of just taking it in kind of bite-sized chunks, isn't it? So if you've got, say, 40 clan rats to paint, don't think of it as 40. Just think, right, I'm going to do 5, you know, and then kind of just take it a step at a time, and before you know it.
Well, that's something I've done before. I don't know if you've ever tried it, Emily, but it's like where we bought the combat patrol, but I took out the Cavalite warriors, built those. I put the box away. I put it in a cupboard somewhere. And just didn't even all I've got is these 10 models to be focused on. Once they're built, then I'll go back to the box, pull out 5 more models, build them, paint it. Do it like that, because I don't know if anyone else feels it, but when I see like 30, 40 models on my desk ready to be painted, I'm like, I don't even want to look at them, let alone paint them. So I find like breaking it up in chunks like that helps me. So I don't know if that is a good tip to get your army taken off there.
Yeah, I think so. I always make the mistake of looking at just like maybe 20 odd models in front of me, thinking, where do I start? What do I do? Yeah, definitely. That is some great advice.
So how to get your tabletop army ready? We don't know.
We don't know, but with enough pressure.
3 months.
Find out.
Yeah, God.
Slow down, take your time.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that's covered.
Yeah, we've kind of gone over everything, go around in circles like we normally do.
A few little tips in there. You got to sift for them.
Yeah, but there'll be something in there worth listening to.
there was some fun. So, time for Sprue or False.
You can do the noise that you normally do,
or false.
You need to get a graphic on there. Come on, I can't say it every week. Come on. So we're going to ask Emily some Sprue or False questions, and she's going to give us her best answer. Her gut reaction.
Her gut reaction. Is it Sprue or is it false?
Yes. So shall I go first with this one?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, so everyone should take part in a tournament at least once.
Ooh. I'm going to say Sprue. I think I learned quite a lot in the tournament that I did. Felt completely out of my depth, don't get me wrong. But I think it's one of those experiences where, particularly if you're into the gaming side of the hobby, it's definitely something to do, I think, at least once. Get yourself out there a little bit. Try to sort of play against some different opponents. I think sometimes if you're playing with friends, you all have like this. You play the same sort of armies time and time again, And I think unless you've got like a few different armies, you don't know what you're coming up against. So I think sometimes playing against different factions, different players at different levels as well, I think is a great experience. And I learned quite a lot doing the tournament. I think I learned a lot of different like tips, tricks, techniques and things, and met some really great people along the way. So yeah, I would definitely say it is a great experience.
Brilliant answer.
That was a
That's
very
a
good
very
answer.
good answer. Yeah, I completely agree. Because I haven't done many tournaments. I've gone to 3 or 4 Warhammer Underworlds tournaments a few years ago before COVID, so quite a while ago.
Yeah.
My highest rank was 3rd out of 12. That's as good as I did. So, but yeah, I know what you mean. Like you learn some new things, you learn new tricks, techniques from talk to people. Oh yeah, I didn't realise that would work like that. And it is quite good. Obviously you always get the odd people in there that want to cheat or but it was
like you.
Yeah, like this. How do you think I got 3rd? But yeah, no, I definitely agree. So I think at least once you should try it. So how many tournaments have you been to, Dan?
Yeah. Correct.
Moving on.
No, I want to do a tournament.
You do, yeah.
I'd like to do a Legion tournament. Because,
yes, yeah, you know the game a lot.
Yeah, I know the game quite well, and I think that's kind of what's so brave about what Emily's doing, which is you've only been painting for say a year, and you're doing a tournament, which is crazy. Or you've done a tournament. So how long were you painting for before you did your first tournament?
I started painting, it would have been around the October before Fest, so probably about 6-7 months. Yeah,
I feel embarrassed. The level of painting that Emily's at already after that amount of time. And you ever done a tournament and look at my painting? How are you doing? Yeah. Don't talk to you.
There was a lot of stress though, don't get me wrong. I was sat in the hotel room the night before the tournament, still trying to paint Magnus's wings and trying to stick everything on bases, and that level of stress, definitely needed to plan better for that one.
Yeah. Magnus wasn't designed to be painted in a hotel room.
He was not. Absolutely not, I agree.
I don't think he was. I don't think he was designed to be painted at all, was he? We're going back to last week's episode.
Good point.
Is it a tournament though? If you're not up in your hotel room the night before, quickly trying to put models together,
that is
for the game.
That's part of the fun.
Yeah.
So, next question.
Mm-hmm.
Is it hard being a woman in Warhammer?
Oh, that's a tough one.
We can't answer this one, so.
I am very on the fence with this one. I think there are elements of it that are. I think a lot of people have the preconception of, oh, well, you're a female, you're going to do well on the social media platform, you're going to do well because people are interested. When actually I do this because it's my hobby, it's something I enjoy, and it's something I've got an interest in. I don't do it for the benefit of other people's comments and things like that. It's great that so many people want to follow along and have a look at my work and take that as inspiration. I absolutely love that, and I love the community for that. But I do that as a way of tracking my own progress. That's how it all started out. But then I think there's also a huge community of support as well at the same time, and being able to have that network of, particularly the females as well. I know, like, in my local community, if I'm out gaming and things, it's very much all male dominated. And I'm trying to drag some of my friends along, like, come on, come get into this. And but now I'm gonna say false on that one, because I think that the community as a whole is very supportive, and I think there's been very few negative comments that I've received off the back of it. There is always going to be the odd one, don't get me wrong. But I think the community of a whole is great, and we all support each other, and we do it for the love of the hobby. That is the reason. So yeah, I'm going to say false.
Yeah. Wow, another great. Everyone we have on as guests answer these better than us every time.
That's the plan.
Yeah, that is another great answer. Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of. I feel that kind of, obviously I'm on social media a lot, and I see a lot of kind of comments and things like that. And I think they're kind of designed to like devalue, your kind of painting expertise or your experience, because they're almost like cheapening it, because it's this is only happening because this.
Yeah,
this is only happening. It's almost like anything you achieve.
It's because
it's taken away.
Yeah.
That's why I thought it was an interesting question. But I think I think the community generally, I'd say, is really nice on Instagram.
Well, we always say we were surprised when we first went on Instagram. Yeah. We thought we were going to get roasted. Get off here, what are you doing? But no, like you said, everyone's been great. So like you said, the community is great, and it's good that as a woman you can feel like that in the community.
I think so. Yeah, it's great. It definitely should be open to everyone. Absolutely, it's about the hobby at the end of the day. It's not about who does 100%, it.
Yeah.
So the last one, which I think is going to lose us all 15 of our listeners, is a bit of a hot take. This one, but well, actually, said Emily in the far line, not us. We can just not answer. We can just move on and answer. But
yeah, thank you.
Female Space Marines are fine in 40k.
Sprue.
I
mean, I'm gonna say that. Let's face it. Yeah, I have absolutely no problem with it. I mean, I see that this has been quite a controversial topic of late, and I personally don't see the problem with it, and I mean, I'm very unopinionated on it in that sense. Like, I think for me, why should it matter whether it's a male or female Space Marine? Do you know what I mean? There's plenty of people within the hobby that don't have a problem with it. And I think everyone's entitled to their own opinion, don't get me wrong, and I appreciate everyone's going back into like the lore of it and everything like that, which is absolutely fine. But for me, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, right. We won't leave you hanging, because we won't actually just move on. But to be honest, I completely. I know it's going to be under fire, but I agree. To be honest, I couldn't give a toss either way.
No.
Yeah.
The only thing that would bother me is a bit like like you said, the recent controversy with the Custodies and how the Games Workshop have kind of almost gaslighted their community by saying, no, they've always been there. If they, like I said, I think I said before, if they just come out and said, we want to bring them in, we want to be inclusive for women, or we want to bring them in and this is how they are coming in. A bit like when they did the Primaris, where they write in the law how it happens.
Yeah.
Then I'd be like, it's their IP.
Fine, yeah.
Having a go at them about it or kicking off on Twitter isn't going to make a difference to what they think. You can have a go you want. It's their IP. Yeah. They'll change it how they want. But I don't play Space Marines. I can't stand Space Marines, as I've made it quite clear. So it doesn't really bother me who's in the armour. But I just feel like if they do it, they should do it properly, not just go, oh, no, they've always been there.
I think so. I think it's just maybe it's kind of the perfectionist in us, but I think I just like things to be sort of accurate's a weird word, because none of it's accurate. It's all fiction. It's accurate to itself, but yeah, if they kind of have written it in, I think the difficulty they've got is they've got lore that was written in the 80s, which doesn't have women in it, weirdly. So, and not only that, it's got 30 years of backing, or 40 years of people hanging on to it. So it's now a case of, okay, we want women in Warhammer, absolutely, why wouldn't you? But how do we do it? It's a case of how do we do it by keeping, they can't. It's a difficult game they're playing, because I know that 95% of our followers are male. So 95% of their demographic is male. So it's a case of like, well, we don't want to piss those off. But it's a weird one, isn't it? Because it's a bit like, well, why would you piss? Why would that piss them off? But I think it's just, from my point of view, it's a case of, I'm interested in how is the best way to do it. Do you see what I mean? It's kind of like in the interest of reality. So it's a bit like if someone said, oh, you wouldn't have women in this race because this, and there's a valid reason, then okay, it makes sense. It's like saying, oh, you wouldn't have wolves on this planet because they wouldn't survive. Do you see what I mean? It's kind of like, okay, well, in the world you've created, that makes sense. So I think it's only if it didn't make sense.
Yeah, it's their world. They can change it however they. Yeah. That's the thing.
And I think they probably will, and
they will.
Probably
I think
should.
they will. I think the Custodes is a kind of testing the waters. Yeah. I think so.
I think it makes sense. Also, what they're forgetting is that most like Warhammer nerds love painting female characters. Let's get them in there.
But like I said, I don't care either way. I'm not going to collect them if there's men or women, so it makes no difference to me. I don't care what they do. Put a dog in the arm for all I care.
It's people that like painting hair. It's like, why are all the men bald? Get some women in there. Get some hair. Come on. What are we doing?
Yeah, what are we doing? Oh, there you go. Well, there's our 3 questions for
3 questions. Answered very well.
Answered very well, yeah.
So, right, time for Paint Grey eBay.
I think you should get a graphic rather than doing this.
Oh, I've got graphic, but it's the sensory experience.
Oh,
you can't just.
Well, people will only see. That's not sensory though, because people are watching it. They can't.
They're hearing it.
Oh, they're hearing
and seeing it.
Oh, okay.
They're just not feeling it.
Okay. Wait, what?
Hang on. Where are we?
What's going on? But anyway, yeah, Paint Grey eBay. So yeah, we've got 3 models as usual. We've put them to Emily to have a look at.
Yeah,
and they're all tenuously linked to pink, but it's very hard to find any pure pink Warhammer models.
Kind of goes back to what we were just saying.
Yeah. So if anyone out there knows of any, you can obviously let us know. But we think we found 3 that are kind of tenuously linked to pink. So we thought we'd give them to Emily to go first, and then we'll have a go.
Yeah.
So you would paint one, leave one grey, so you'd have it, but you wouldn't paint it, and then you'd basically bin off the 3rd, eBay it, get rid of it, sell it.
Straight on eBay.
Don't like it. So the 3 we've got, and I'm sure Darren's going to put the graphics.
Yeah, down there.
Down there. Is Fulgrim Transfigured. Transfigured? It is Transfigured, isn't it? Yeah, the big old one from Forge World, but they don't exist anymore. It's just Warhammer.
Yeah.
Pink Horrors from Demons.
Chaos
Demons, which, obviously that's the only one with pink in its name.
Yeah.
And the 3rd one, which is a bit more tenuous. They are mainly pink. They are Slaanesh, aren't they? But it's a Noise Marine. So, yeah. So, Emily, you can have the honours. What would be your order? So, you let us know.
So, I think paint, probably go for Fulgrim. Purely because I like the detail that I think I could put into that model, and the colour scheme. Don't know too much about the lore or anything behind it. It's just aesthetically pleasing model. Looks like the sort of thing I'd like to paint and get a bit of colour on. Then I think grey would have to be the Pink Horrors, because although I love them and I love Zinch and all that sort of vibe to tie in with my Thousand Suns, there's a lot of them, so they'd stay grey. There'd maybe be 2 or 3 painted, the rest would be grey.
Yeah.
Chances are they'll be grey.
We say about tables and palmies.
And then I would say probably the Noise Marine on eBay. And whilst I've got the Thousand Suns and I know that they are Space Marines, not my vibe.
Not doing anything for you.
No, do you know, like the Marine sort of vibe just there's not much really that interests me personally on that side of the 40k world. Very much. I like the Thousand Suns, and I think they stood out because they seemed a little bit different, a little bit chaosy. They were kind of right up my street. Tying in with like the Zinch and everything like that, and I love Magnus. But in terms of Marines as a whole and that sort of side, just doesn't do it for me, unfortunately.
Oh, there you go. Absolutely brilliant answers. Yeah. So we'll go around the room. So I'll go around to you now, Darren. So who would you say? I'll give you that so you can have a look at them.
Yeah.
So you've got Fulgrim, Noise Marines, and Pink Horrors.
I would paint Fulgrim.
Oh, okay, hang on. Yeah.
Good choice, yeah.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, there's just so much. Yeah. It wouldn't be a quick job, put it that way. But yeah, I think that's a real display cabinet piece. Yeah, that's so much detail on it, and so many kind of different techniques as well that you can kind of try out, and
you could do so much of that.
go to town on it, and that wouldn't be tabletop standard. And it wouldn't be painted either.
No, I was going to say, it would be painted either.
And then I would
go the other way.
Because
you've broken the phone.
I would leave grey the noise marine.
Oh.
Because I think I would enjoy painting that, whereas the pink horrors, don't know, they're just not really me. So they'd be going on eBay, unfortunately.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Sorry, they're the only ones with pink in the title, and I eBayed them. But
so I'm gonna buck the trend a bit.
There we go.
Be contrarian, but I would paint the pink horrors because, a bit like Emily said, I just think they're absolutely great. I like Zinch. I think they're great models. They really pop on the table. I've always wanted to paint them. I liked the old style ones as well before this plastic kit were released. I really always liked them. So I paint them. I'm going to be honest with myself, unlike you, Darren. I would leave grey Fulgrim purely because I know I'd never finish it. So that would be grey.
I'm buying Fulgrim now.
Good luck. I would buy it with the intention, oh my god, it's because it is a stunning model. You're both right. It's a lovely model. Loads to do on it. Really, it's great. But I realistically know I'd never paint it. I'd get halfway through and be like, yeah, it's sat in the cabinet. I haven't touched it for 6 months. I might put it on eBay. So it would.
So it's lucky.
It should count itself lucky that it's grey. It's this close to being eBay. And then again, Emily kind of completely echoed my sentiments with the noise marine. Just does nothing for me, really.
Even that guitar.
No, it's just stupid. I just don't like it.
Stupid guitar.
Yeah, you stupid.
Being held by a stupid marine.
Yeah, with his foot on another marine's head. Stupid.
Yeah.
Just stupid.
No, I'm with you on that one.
Just don't like marines, really, in any form. I prefer the chaos ones, but yeah. It's basically, if you ever put a marine in paint grey eBay, you know where the marine's going to go.
Yeah, I'm trying.
9 times out of 10. Maybe I have painted stuff. I should have said that.
Refer to last week's paint grey eBay.
No, don't do that. No, let's be honest, no one's going to. But yeah, no, I would paint the horrors, leave grey Fulgrim, and eBay the noise marine. So there we are.
Nice. Well, a bit of a mixed bag there then.
Well, just me being awkward.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
there's no change there.
No, that's fine.
Right. So, time for listeners' questions.
Oh my god, stop it.
That's the best one.
Have you got a graphic for that?
No.
Okay.
I can do.
Yeah. Yeah, you can do. That's right.
And then it explodes. Anyway,
right. You fool. First question is kind of aimed at you two. Nothing to do with me, so I'm going to read it out and you two can answer.
Okay.
It's from Wilhelm94, and it simply is, why Tyranids? So I guess go first. Yeah.
Do you know what? I'm not going to lie. I think partly it was because they were in the release of 10th. And we got the big Leviathan box, and I think the hype then sort of made me think, oh, Tyranids. But I also think they are a faction that I could have a lot of fun with in terms of like colour schemes, and making them a little bit more unique and my own, and make them bright and pop. Just anything sort of away from the Space Marine side of it. I think there are a lot of Space Marines in 40k, a load of different factions and different ideas and things for them. But for me, just the sort of buggy vibe and feel of them, they were right down my street.
Beat that answer.
Yeah. 2 words.
Oh, yeah.
Helldivers 2.
Oh god.
Yeah, so I've kind of always liked Tyranids. Again, I know we've talked about it, but I like Seraphon, I like Tyranids, and I almost feel like Tyranids are a little bit like Seraphon in space kind of vibes. You know, lot of skin, lot of scales. So yeah, they're quite similar. And like you said, in terms of you can go mad with colour schemes. There's loads of like crazy colours in nature, so you can do what you want basically. Whereas a lot of the other armies are quite box art style, and I think held well. Mine was, I did a reel for how to do like a Helldivers 2 scheme, and I really enjoyed doing it. And I thought, I'm going to do a combat patrol in Helldivers scheme. Which
and also I'll jump in on your answer, but it was also you were getting some Marines ready for Contrast Corner, weren't you? And you built the Tyranids for Contrast Corner.
Yes.
And when you built them, you messaged me. You're like, I really like these Tyranids. I really enjoy painting these. To
be fair, I did a couple for Contrast Corner. The one that I did black and then with like the striking scorpion green. I wish I'd gone for that scheme because it would have been about 1,000 times easier. But but yeah, that's kind of that's for me. And also, I suppose it's not really a plus, but kind of going back to last episode, they're not that detailed. They're not, when you compare them to say something like Grey Knights or Thousand Suns, they haven't got kind of 14 leather belts and buckles and kind of capes and things like that. They are, you can kind of pick a scheme and it won't change drastically throughout the army, and I think that's quite nice to have that kind of cohesion. And they're a horde army as well, so they look good when there's loads of them. But yeah,
there we go. Well answered.
I don't think I beat Emily's, but
no, you didn't.
Gave my best shot.
Yeah, well, you failed. Anyway, next one. It's from you can guess from the user's name what it's going to be about, but it's from 50 Shades Known. What's your shade and why is it Known Oil? I don't really know what the question is, but
fair point.
Do you know what? I have never used Known Oil. Just never.
Oh my!
Do you know what it is? It's just, I think because I go for such the bright colours and things like that.
Yeah, that's true.
I've never had need for it. I tend to go for Druchii Violet.
Yes, lovely
if
colour.
I do. And then I'm trying to like experiment a little bit more with some of the different colours. If I'm using colours, try and find one that kind of matches. But yeah, no oil. It doesn't do it for me.
Never use Known Oil.
Well,
there's a comment for you.
Yeah, there
50
you go.
Shades Known.
50 Shades. There you go. Oh.
We've found the only miniature painter not to use
Yeah,
Known Oil.
yeah, more than likely.
No, you are right though. It's kind of it's great for.
To be fair, you haven't used it, but your reasonings for not using it were
solid.
Were solid reasons.
So they were pretty sound. Yeah.
I'm more of an Agrax shade myself.
Oh yeah, like a bit of Agrax.
I'm a bit of an Agrax rather than a Known Oil. Sorry, 50 Shades Known, but it's not Known Oil. Mine is probably Agrax. If I had to choose one shade, if they said to me they're going to get rid of all the shades tomorrow, but you can keep one, it would be Agrax. What about you?
Yeah, I think it would be.
Emily's would be Druchii Violet.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
There we go. Sorry, 50 Shades. So you won't be listening anymore. Sorry about that.
Thanks for listening up to now.
Yeah. So got two now from our favourite Mark, above average minis.
Yeah.
Our mate. His first one, which I think is a very serious question for Mark, but he's what's the painting skills you learned that changed the hobby for you?
Ooh.
Come on, let me know that you take the floor.
I think one of the biggest ones is probably dry brushing, and trying to get as much highlight and depth on the models as I can as quickly as possible. And I think it always looks quite easy to do, but making sure you've got the right amount of paint on your brush and in the right areas, it actually takes quite a bit of time to find just that sweet spot of how much paint you need and where to apply it. So that took quite a bit of practice, but definitely a game changer. I dry brush absolutely everything now. And I also think maybe not overdoing it with shade paints and learning how to tone it back a little bit on those, because I think it's easy to layer it on when you don't need actually that much, as long as you've got a little bit in the recess and it pull in slightly. I think especially at first when I was learning to paint, I'm just slapping everything on.
Can't get it on there.
Yeah, and then you think, oh no, that wasn't the aim of a shade paint, was it? But yeah, definitely dry brushing is a big one for me. And something that I'm constantly trying to work on, still working on now, edge highlighting.
Yeah.
I feel like that takes quite a bit of skill to be able to get just a thin line on edge highlighting. I'm constantly going back over with the base colour and trying to touch up along the side of the lines that I do. But yeah, they are probably the main ones for me.
God, such good answers.
Yeah.
Cool. For me, I don't read the hobby thing that improved the hobby for me would probably be, I don't know really. I think looking more into like colour theory, I think a bit more maybe for me. So like, getting a colour wheel in your head, as it were. So what colour goes with that, and trying to find shades that go with, like, you've got a green, and obviously red is the opposite, but you could maybe do a bit of a purple in that red. You know what I mean? Like trying to learn colour theory a bit has probably been something for me that I've tried to do. And also learning some of the more tartier effects, like, glazing, feathering, wet blending. I've been trying to do a lot of that. And well, actually, to be fair, one big thing which I hadn't really thought is airbrushing.
Yeah.
I've also recently got an airbrush within the last, how long have we had them now? Well, I've had mine.
A few months.
You got rid of yours because you had to because it broke. But a few months, and obviously I'm by no means an airbrush expert, but I definitely feel like I can use it to do a good OSL now, and lots of blending with the airbrush. So that's actually, I'm going to take that back. Probably airbrushing. I think that's probably changed it for me. The most recent one I can think of is probably the airbrush.
Yeah, time saver. You did some stuff fables, like some of the enemies.
Yeah,
that were so much easier with the airbrush, because with something like that, you don't want to spend hours on it. But if it's quite they're not overly detailed. No. So really, you just want that kind of nice flat blend. Yeah, and that does perfectly. And that's going to be a Games Expo treat for me. Going to try and get hold of a new airbrush, because mine's on its last legs, because we got a cheap one when we got the same airbrush kit, and my airbrush yours has died, and my airbrush is on its last legs. The trigger's hardly working, so need to upgrade that. So are you venturing to the expo this year, Emily?
I am. I am. I'm going to expo this year. I've never been, so it's another first, but I'm really excited to go. So I think
it's great. What are you doing? All 3 days, or?
I am. Yeah, I've got all 3 days. So myself, my partner, and my daughter were going. So I've got a 6-year-old to try and get her into everything as well at the same time. So I think it might be a bit of a long weekend, but I'm excited. It'll be good.
Yeah. It's Christmas for us.
Oh, it's Christmas for me. It's Christmas. Yeah, we're going 2 days. We're doing the Friday and the Saturday. But yeah, that's Christmas. That's Boxing Day. That's Christmas and Christmas Eve for me. I can't wait. Yeah. But I took my 5-year-old to Salute a couple of weeks ago, and so it was fine. He loved it. He was looking at you. The problem is he didn't kind of know boundaries, so he would run over to the boards and look, Dad, look, and he'd be picking up tanks. And, no, put it down. Everyone was fine with it, and they would go, oh no, don't worry. They weren't bothered. But yeah. 6-year-old at the expo. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah, 3 full days. I'm gonna see how it goes. It's We'll see.
Leaving with your partner, but I'm just gonna go and.
I'm not over here. You
So going back to got distracted by the expo. So what's your answer?
Yeah, I would say this is gonna be controversial for Emily, but I would say a bit of a game changer for me was the wet palette. Was thinning my paints.
Yeah.
I think applying 2 thin coats, it's not really applying the 2 thin coats. It's more just the knowing that it's better painting with a thinner coat, and you'll get a kind of smoother finish at the end. I think I'd kind of been around in the hobby for a little while, and kind of like tried normal painting straight from the pot, tried contrast paints, and then it was only really when I started kind of Vallejo acrylic paints on the wet palette, thinning them down, that I really started to kind of level up my painting, I suppose. So
yeah, you have leveled up your painting a lot in the past year. So
yeah, I've kind of we've talked before about like should every model that you paint be better than the last, and I think we kind of came to the conclusion that it shouldn't be, but it kind of depends what your aim is. So I find that certainly, and you'll relate to this, but in the first maybe couple of years when you're painting, you almost want that to be the case, because you can make such big improvements in a short amount of time. So it's almost like if the next thing you paint isn't better, it's kind of like, oh well, what then? Yeah, you know what comes next.
Definitely, I've been there.
Yeah. And it's hard. Like if say you're getting an army ready for the tabletop, you've got to resign to the fact that probably won't be the best you can do. So
which is where we struggle.
That's harder because you know if you're a gamer or if you're in tournaments, then and you've just started the hobby, you kind of you've got to get into that mentality quickly of this isn't going to be my best work. So the next thing I paint might be, or this display piece or this bust might be.
That's why I'm genuinely jealous of people that can paint to a tabletop standard and be like, yeah, I'm happy with that. That's brilliant, fine, and walk away. And like, because I can't love my Legion army, but we got to a tabletop. We're going back to the main topic now, but the Legion army that I got done with my tabletop level, I went back over the whole army to make it look better because I couldn't stand the fact that it wasn't as good as I could maybe do it. Yeah.
Even then, you talked about rebuying the whole thing and starting from scratch.
Yeah. I still haven't. That's not off the table yet.
You say you can't paint an army, but it's because you keep rebuying the army you've already got.
How many Darth Vaders have I painted? 5?
Yeah.
Right. So the last one, which I'm not 100% sure if I understand his question. Sorry, Mark, but I'm not sure. He's put more fun to make animal for riders or vehicles. He's put in brackets like a dragon compared to a tank.
Yeah, I think he's.
Does he mean is it better to do like?
I think he's saying about building, isn't he? More fun to build like a mount or a tank. But I hate building. So.
Yeah, you don't build. I do building. I'm building all the bolt action for both of us.
That's right.
Yeah. You bought it though, so.
I think building for me is my break in between painting. That is what. But then that's how I end up with so many models on the go at once. For me, tanks don't really interest me that much. So yeah, for me, not tanks. Some of the like bigger models, you know, like your monsters, your dragons, that sort of thing, definitely more up my street. Definitely more my style and painting and things. But I mean, I've never built and painted a tank, so maybe something that I need to give a go. But yeah, definitely not my first choice.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah,
no, monsters.
You don't need to give it a go. It's fine.
Yeah,
we've done.
We'll let you off.
I've done tanks. I've done some tanks for Legion. I've done like the LAAT. I've done the AS. I've done a few. They're quite cool because they're iconic vehicles. You know, like the Star Wars Walker, ATST, and all that. But yeah, it's always give me a dragon or a tank is no contest. Yeah. Dragon all day. So. Yeah, that's all of them. Oh, there's one other thing I need to address. My wife and daughter. Oh. So basically, they want me to. What is it? I can't remember.
I'll cut this bit out.
Yeah, cut this bit out. But it's basically there's a purple coat my daughter's got, and she keeps wanting me to wear it on the podcast. And I said to her, I can't remember. I said if we get to 2,000 followers on YouTube, it makes me look like a pimp, basically. And she's like, if we get to 2,000 followers on YouTube, which I know we never will, or anytime soon, I'll wear that coat. So there you go. I've said it on the podcast. So if we get to 2,000 followers, to shut my wife and daughter up, I will wear that stupid purple coat. Cut this bit.
Yeah.
There you go. That's all the questions. I think that's That's pretty much it.
You've endured. You're still here, so
I am. Yeah, I'm still going.
Yeah,
your check will be in the post.
Thank you very much. No, seriously, thank you so much for inviting me. I've had a great time, and it's been lovely to talk with you.
Same for you. It's been absolutely brilliant having you on.
Yeah, check out Pink.Warhammer on Instagram to see what Emily's up to and how her tournament prep goes.
Yes,
we'll be looking there eagerly.
There'll be lots coming up soon.
Probably don't look in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks ahead.
But yeah, thanks guys for listening. Like and subscribe, all the
usual stuff. Yeah,
and keep up to date with what we're chucking on Instagram and boring you guys with.
Yeah,
and, we'll see you next time.
Thanks again, Emily.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.